Hey, Lee here. It's April 11th, which is a Wednesday, and that means new comics. Pull list here presented by longboxradio.com. Let's get right down to it. It's a huge day. Look at this stack. It's insane. First off, from Dark Horse, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is issue 9. Yeah, no, number 8. Number 8. Number 8's going to be the theme this week, apparently, too, as we go to Batgirl number 8 from DC. I actually had a chance to read this before even doing this video, which is something rare. But really, lots of stuff packed into here. There's like 3 different kind of storylines going on. So I'm glad I did stay on the book this long. Gail Simone's actually picking it up a little bit on this one. So I do still enjoy Batgirl. Batman and Robin, kind of a falling action from what happened in last issue, with Damian, murdering someone. Spoilers. So that's number issue 8 from there. $3. Great book. Bruce and Damian. I had a chance to read this one as well. Bruce and Damian kind of, they understand that they're 2 very different guys, but they're ultimately after the same goal and stuff like that. So father and son are, they're finally getting along and stuff like that, which is good. So, anyways, Batwoman, another book I had a chance to read there. Pretty good. Kind of a weird story going on right now. It's not tying into the Night of the Owls thing, Horde of the Owls, sorry, until I think issue 10 or something like that. So still in the middle of a story arc here. The other 2 books I just mentioned, however, kind of show that the Owl storyline is what's coming next. So they both kind of wrap up what they were dealing with, and we're on to the big event. So cool. Suicide Squad number 8. Again, another book I've really enjoyed. Kind of a fun read. This one's not a lot of action going on in this particular book right now. Kind of getting the team all back together and sending them on their next mission. So if you like Thunderbolts from Marvel or something like that, Suicide Squad is what DC has to offer you, and it's a pretty fun book. I like Deadshot in it too. He's really, as a main character, he's actually pretty cool. Going over to Dynamite Books, we have The Bionic Man. Guess what? Issue 8. Everything's number 8 this week, and that's from Kevin Smith, of course, and then Phil Hester and Jonathan Lau actually do fill in the gaps there. So, been a super cool book. It's going to make one hell of a trade paperback when that comes out. If you like The Bionic Man, or you just like a really well-written, kind of super soldier kind of story, I really recommend this book. So, moving on, we have Artifacts. This is issue 16, 8 times 2. And that's been a cool book too. Of course, we're kind of reestablishing the Top Cow universe now. It got rebooted in issue 13. So, here you go. The art's been super sick on this. I think Ron Mars is doing most of the writing, if not all of it. There's cool little things in the back that kind of bring you up to speed on the universe. So this is the time to jump on. And it's weird because if you're like, hey, I want to start reading Top Cow and like Witchblade and stuff, where do I start? Well, go pick up Artifacts issue 14 and start reading from there. It's kind of a weird jump on point. But anyway, super cool book. Check it out. Speaking of super cool books, Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples brings us Saga with a super cool cover there. The first issue of this was awesome. Really cool established universe. Just hooked right off the bat. So I have high hopes for this one. It's been an awesome book. That's coming to us from Image, of course. So definitely pick this up. I know the first one's hard to find. It's sold out most places. There'll be a second printing if not already. So check it out. It's called Saga from Image. If you can take anything away from this video, it's to read this book. Moving on, we have from Jonathan Hickman and Bodenheim, we have Secret, which is $3.50. Why not? And that's this is like a number 1 actually, and what really, I mean, the cover kind of caught my interest. I know nothing about this book. I bought it blindly on the fact that it's Jonathan Hickman. So we'll see how that is. I don't recommend that for a lot of writers, but Jonathan Hickman usually you're going to be okay, at least for 1 issue. So we'll see what that's like. You'll hear about it on the podcast. Going over to Kirkman, Spencer. Of course, Kirkman wrote the idea for the story. I guess Spencer does all the dialogue and actually adapts it to a comic book and whatever's happening. It's a very well written book. Thief of Thieves 3 is out. I'm not like the biggest fan of this book, but it's like if you watch a really good play, like everybody, they're having a good time and the writing's good and everybody's kind of giving it their all. No matter what that play is about, it's at least worth checking out. And that's what I feel about Thief of Thieves. I mean, as far as the story goes, I'm like, I've kind of read heisty kind of stuff before and kind of dealt with these kind of characters before, but they're written so well right here and the dialogue is done so well that it's hard to actually take this one off my pull list. So I'm still picking it up, Thief of Thieves 3. It was kind of like a backhanded compliment to Nick Spencer and Robert Kirkman there. We're going over to Amazing Spider-Man Hooky, which I believe is actually a reprint of some Amazing Spider-Man issues from 1986. I could absolutely be wrong about that. It was actually, I think, published originally in a big graphic novel done by Marvel. I think it was like Marvel Comics graphic novel 22 or something like that. This is totally off the top of my head. I didn't actually do a lot of research on this. Sorry. But what this is we have really, if you crack it open, an old school Spider-Man comic or like a really long story. So the book is thick. It's about a $5 book, and it's about the length of a graphic novel. So you got Spider-Man fighting dragons and crazy stuff. So, you know, I wasn't really into comics back then. Heck, if it's 1986, I wasn't even born yet. But it's kind of cool to revisit the roots, as it were. Going on to Avenging Spider-Man, which kicks off the Mega Effect event, which is going to go across Avenging Spider-Man, Daredevil, and then Punisher. And it's all to deal with the Fantastic Four logo, cool data thing that Daredevil has. Actually has information on all the super criminals and stuff like that. So it's been super cool. It's been building up in Daredevil. Punisher kind of tied into it now. And then without, you know, Dan Slott's got crazy things going on in 616 Spider-Man. So we'll leave it to Avenging Spider-Man, which in and of itself is an awesome book. So, I mean, you got Rucka Wade on the book and stuff like that. So you can't go wrong. Definitely check it out. Pow! Carnage USA ends, and I'm a little sad about that. Zeb Wells, Clayton Crane's Hot Dogs, Apple Pie there, if you actually read who worked on the book. Amazing. Zeb Wells has probably one of the best senses of humor of any comic writer out there. His, if you read The Avenging Spider-Man, you read the inside where it's like, Peter Parker was bitten by blah, 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 and usually you just skip those over. If it's a Zeb Wells book, make sure you read those, because they're freaking hilarious. This just done with a sick sense of humor. That guy's awesome. He needs another Carnage book or like an ongoing or something to throw that guy on and just keep him on it, because I'll buy it. That guy is excellent at what he does. So I don't know if anyone disagrees with me. I think Mike somewhat agrees with me, but this is ending, so we'll get to see what happens with Carnage. We'll get to see if Spider-Man can actually save the town that Carnage has kind of taken over. I heard this compared to as I think it was Death of Comics podcast guys on Twitter that actually referred to it as like the Marvel version of Crossed, and that's pretty accurate. It's pretty gruesome stuff, but only 5 issues long. There's a previous Carnage 5-issue mini that you can pick up as well, kind of see where Cletus Cassidy came back on the scene, but super cool stuff. Carnage USA, pick it up. It's going to be an awesome trade. Fantastic Four 605. We have, again, a big falling action in this because Jonathan Hickman, well, pretty much the last year or two of Fantastic Four kind of came to a head recently. So, you know, he's allowed to take a couple days off or whatever. But super cool stuff. I don't know. The only unfortunate thing about Fantastic Four is you do kind of have to read both Fantastic Four and FF. It's kind of moving away from that now. For a while there, when the event was happening, you definitely were only seeing like every, you know, half step of the story. So I definitely recommend both books anyhow. The art on FF, some people have having problems with it lately. It at least separates it from the Fantastic Four book, I feel. But we'll talk about that another time. You know, this week, not much going on with the Avengers vs. X-Men event that's happening right now, aside from the new Avengers issue that came out, which is issue 24. We got Wolverine, he's like, stop! And we got Cyclops, and we got Captain America there about to show down, which is just a very common theme you're going to see across a lot of Marvel books, apparently. But this is the only book that actually continues the storyline, as far as I'm concerned right now. So for this week, if you really want to follow that event, this is the one to get. Not that you shouldn't have got it anyways. It's Bendis, it's Deodato. This book has been excellent, usually very action-packed. It's an Avengers book where it's just people punching each other in the face, so that's pretty awesome. Scarlet Spider, issue 4 from Chris Yost, I believe his name is. Yeah. There's a David Yost too, so I got them confused. But this has been a super cool book. Definitely we got Kane hanging out in Texas, Houston, Dallas? I think it's Houston. And he's donned one of Spider-Man's cool suits he made during the big time event, and he's stopping crime down there. So if you want a different take on Spider-Man, you want a Spider-Man who's a little more badass, this is probably for you. It's been a super cool book so far, so awesome. Secret Avengers. This week we got issue 25 from Rick Remender. The art has been sick on this book. I'm assuming it's Hardman. It's Hardman. It's continuing on here. Let me just open this up. Yeah, no, super cool stuff. Definitely check it out. Rick Remender took over this book 2 or 3 issues ago, and it's been excellent. You got Captain Britain on the team too, which is just awesome. So check it out. New book this week from Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons. Dave Gibbons, of course, most people might know him as the Watchmen artist. It's been a long day. But Ultimate Comics, we have X-Men issue 10. We have Storm on the cover there. If you know, Nick Spencer is treating this book like most of his books, where the storytelling is very, you know, you got three plot lines, but rather than progressing together, they're progressing in totally different ways, and they'll eventually come together. And when it does, it's probably one of the better books you read. So that's why you stick with a Nick Spencer book right there. But no, it's been a super cool book. A lot of cool things happening in the Ultimate Universe. In Ultimates especially, Ultimate X-Men is no... yeah. So, Uncanny X-Men, we're at issue 10 this week. Got cool stuff happening. I'm trying to remember what happened in issue 9. I think there was a No, it was the Sword Facility or whatever. Really crazy alien prisoners have escaped, one of them including this crazy badass robot guy who is pretty much laying waste to the X-Men team, so it's going to be cool to see what happens there. Man, my memory is not so good with the Uncanny X-Men recently. Wolverine. We have apparently everyone who ever wrote comics working on this book this week. This is Wolverine 304 coming to us primarily, I'm assuming, from Jason Aaron. Dylan's name is on there, so what exactly is this? Hold on one sec. Yeah, there's Steve Dillon's art. I guess there's a bunch of different artists just taking over here. Was I unaware there's some kind of crazy, awesome event going on in Wolverine? No, okay. Well, anyways, Steve Dillon's always a welcome sight, and Steve Dillon and Jason Aaron made my favorite book ever, being Punisher Max, so there is nothing wrong with that. Okay, so I need to take a nap because that was the last burst of energy I had, but of course it's the playoff hockey season, so I got that going on as well, but we'll be back, Mike Haynes, Rob, and myself. We'll be here on the weekend, of course, probably Sunday, talking about comic news and reviews. Got lots to talk about, especially Spider-Man coming from Bendis, where we'll see a crossover between the 616 and the Ultimate Universe, which is something I've kind of been hoping for and dreading for a long time. So that's it for the poll list this week. That's April 11th. We'll see you again next Wednesday.